Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It has been a little while, but today we're going to be talking about Duende, which I think is one of the most interesting and important aesthetic concepts that I've discovered in the last few years. And I think having our heads around it is absolutely crucial for understanding how to make art that is alive and not just AI slop and Hollywood dog shit, Odyssey, that sort of thing in the 21st century. Now, for those of you who on the last video, which was an interview with Ted Mitev, were saying, where are the videos? I've been waiting for videos. It's true. It's been a little while. The good news is this is an ongoing series. There's going to be several episodes on this topic coming in quite quick succession. So do not stress. And on the other hand, the reason why it's been quite a while is because I've been working on various things, including finishing a book on Oswald Spengler, there should be some stuff about that very, very soon. We've also been working on several events behind the scenes, which I'm excited to talk about. There's something I can talk about very, very soon, and then some other stuff that's a little bit more behind, still waiting to be announced, but keep your eyes open. So, on our topic for today and the next coming lectures, Duende. Duende comes from Spain. Certainly that's where it's been written about, most famously by Federico Garcia Lorca, who was a 20th century poet who was friends with, amongst others, with Mr. Salvador Dali. But Duende, the way he writes about it, comes from the gypsies and the gypsy art, the dance, the music, specifically flamenco music, this fiery, passionate, rough but virtuosic music at the same time. And we're going to talk about flamenco duende, but we're actually going to talk about the flamenco duende more in the next video. In this video, rather, we're going to focus on a contemporary artist, one Mr. Nick Cave, who you may be familiar with, who has himself spoken and written about the Duende. We're going to be going through a lecture that he gave on this strange aesthetic topic to start to piece together what it means. And doing this way will mean when we come to flamenco next time, we're going to have our heads a little bit more wrapped around exactly what it is we're talking about. But just to kick off slightly, this image on the left, it's a folk devil or folk spirit, but a tricksterish, imp-like spirit. It's important. You'll see in a moment why using the word devil is perhaps not quite the right word to use. But the duende is this impish creature. And the idea is that there's certain music or art that's haunted or that brings this out. That's not the beautiful or the angelic or the perfect side of life, but rather something a little bit more mischievous, troubling, ambiguous. This is where Lorca develops his ideas from. So when we read Lorca next week, he will be talking a lot about this folk devil. But of course, it comes into the language. The Spanish musicians, they talk about music having duende. And this ultimately is what it refers to, this ancient spirit. Before we dive in, I just want to remind you that if you go on our website, if you're interested in what we do with Dark Renaissance and you'd like to work with us, consulting or working on retreats or ideas or just having a chat about what you're up to, then do feel free to get in touch. I'm also launching a Patreon for this channel, and I'm still wrapping my head around it. As you can see on the right hand side, I've got a relatively modest contribution and a ridiculous tier, which is there as well. So if you want to buy me a couple of beers to help me keep thinking and doing stuff, feel free. Or if you want to donate a lot more money, then there is also that option. I don't know if anyone will take it, but aim for the future. We also have a Dark Renaissance Unconference coming up in Stockholm in the end of August, What the hell is an unconference? An unconference, reading off my own slide, a decentralized unconference across Stockholm composed of participant-hosted salons, dinners, workshops, performances, rituals, walks, conversations, and gatherings. Essentially, it's an event, but we don't have a central structure, a central conference space or programming that we are designing. Rather, we are inviting people to show up, bring what you want to bring. The main thing is to just be in Stockholm over that long weekend at the end of the summer. So if you're in Stockholm, or if you fancy coming to meet us and hanging out, then please do so. And if you would like to perform something or bring something, or you have ideas for a talk, a symposium, anything, then we're curious to hear from you. The idea is that people bring what they want, and then we find a way to showcase it together. A bit of a festival. There's already several people involved on the sort of behind the scenes front. And this is, if you're a fan of Dark Renaissance and you've been watching this YouTube channel either for a long time or you're relatively new, it's an opportunity to come and hang out with people. Now, on with the show. So, Nick Cave talking about his Duende, or rather, what is this thing? The love song is a sad song. It is the sound of sorrow itself. We all experience within us what the Portuguese call saudade, which translates as an inescapable sense of longing, an unnamed and enigmatic yearning of the soul. And it is this feeling that lives in the realms of imagination and inspiration, and is the breeding ground for the sad song. For the love song is the light of God, deep down, blasting through our wounds. In his brilliant lecture entitled The Theory and Function of Duende, sometimes translated The Theory and Play of Duende, Federico Garcia Lorca attempts to shed some light on the eerie and inexplicable sadness that lives in the heart of certain works of art. All that has dark sounds has Duende, he says. That mysterious power that everyone feels but no philosopher can explain. It's crucial, something that comes across in art, but philosophy, intellectualism, description that aims at nailing things down too precisely, can't get to it. In contemporary rock music, the area in which I, Nick Cave, operate, music seems less inclined to have in its soul, restless and quivering, that sadness that Lorca talks about. Excitement often, anger sometimes, but true sadness rarely. Bob Dylan always has it. Leonard Cohen deals specifically in it. It pursues Van Morrison like a black dog, and though he tries to, he cannot escape it. Tom Waits and Neil Young can summon it. It haunts Polly Harvey. My friends in the Dirty Three have it by the bucket load. The band Spiritualized are excited by it. Tindersticks desperately want it, but all in all, it would appear that Duende is too fragile to survive the brutality of technology and the ever-increasing acceleration of the music industry. Perhaps there is just no money in sadness, no dollars in Duende. Sadness or Duende needs space to breathe. Melancholy hates haste and floats in silence. It must be handled with care. Now notice that the singers and the songwriters and the musicians he's pointed to here, big names from the mid-20th century, mid-late 20th century, but not the big, flashy pop rock or pop or hip-hop artists. None of this over-the-top drama and huge drums and massive guitars and big beats and heavy drops and all the rest of it. There's a lyricism to these musicians and a slowness to the way they sing, but this is not a simplicity. There is rather, one might say, a pathos to the way they sing, to the way they communicate, to the stories that they tell. There is always a story being told, a haunting story about life, its struggles, its demons. Dirty Three, mostly an instrumental band. If you listen to them, it's a drummer, a guitarist, and a violin player. The violin player who plays with Nick Cave, Warren Ellis. But it's worth checking them out to hear a sense of the instrumental Duende. They have this mournful, wailing, and yet warm it holds you. There's a great Tiny Desk concert that they've done that I would recommend checking out. Nick Cave goes on, all love songs must contain Duende, for the love song is never truly happy. It must first embrace the potential for pain. Those songs that speak of love without having within their lines an ache or a sigh are not love songs at all, but rather hate songs disguised as love songs, and are not to be trusted. These songs deny us our humaneness and our God-given right to be sad, and the airwaves are littered with them. Trash these overly happy songs, overly sexual songs. The love song must resonate with the susurration of sorrow, the tintinnabulation of grief. The writer who refuses to explore the darker regions of the heart will never be able to write convincingly about the wonder, the magic, and the joy of love. For just as goodness cannot be trusted unless it has breathed the same air as evil, the enduring metaphor of Christ crucified between two criminals come to mind here. So within the fabric of the love song, within its melody, its lyric, one must sense an acknowledgement of its capacity for suffering. If one wants to write a great love song, to write a song that truly sings of the greatest aches of what it is to be a man or a woman, one has to walk something akin to a religious path, he suggests. To be something like Christ crucified on the cross. The highest goodness sacrifice between the lowliest, the basest. The gold and the shit come together. The highest overturned. Without defiling it. Which is also a crucial thing. We could also say the airwaves being littered as much with trash, postmodern punk rubbish that attempts to overturn everything, but with no capacity for deep feeling, for song, for beauty, for tenderness. Perhaps that's a good way to put it. Tenderness, and tenderness always involves a capacity to be hurt, the capacity to hold the hurt that has already happened. Tenderness is never just over the top. He goes on this religious theme. The Song of Solomon is an extraordinary love song, but it was the remarkable series of love songs or poems known as the Psalms that truly held me. I found the Psalms, which deal directly with the relationship between man and God, teeming with all the clamorous desperation, longing, exaltation, erotic violence, and brutality that I could hope for. The Psalms are soaked in saudade, drenched in duende, and bathed in bloody-minded violence. In many ways, these songs became the blueprint for many of my more sadistic love songs. Psalm 137, a particular favourite of mine, which was turned into a chart hit by the fab little band Boney M, is a perfect example of all I have been talking about. This is the psalm, illustrated here on the right side by various artists. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song. And they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Nick Cave says, the love song must be born into the realm of the irrational, absurd, the distracted, the melancholic, the obsessive, the insane. For the love song is the noise of love itself, and love is, of course, a form of madness. Whether it be the love of God or romantic erotic love, these are manifestations of our need to be torn away from the rational, to take leave of our senses, so to speak. Love songs come in many guises and are seemingly written for many reasons, as declarations or to wound. I have written songs for all of these reasons. But ultimately, the love song exists to fill, with language, the silence between ourselves and God, to decrease the distance between the temporal and the divine. In Psalm 137, the poet finds himself captive in a strange land and is forced to sing a song of Zion. He swears his love to his homeland and dreams of revenge. The psalm is ghastly in its violent sentiments, as he sings for love of his homeland and his God, and that he may be made happy by murdering the children of his enemies. What I found time and time again in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, was that verses of rapture, of ecstasy and love could hold within them apparently opposite sentiments: hate, revenge, bloody-mindedness, etc., that they were not mutually exclusive. This idea has left an enduring impression on my songwriting. There's more depictions of the psalm on the right hand here. And also, I did a bit of research. Turns out the idea, the weeping willow, as an image, as a poetic image, comes precisely from this psalm, due to apparently a mistranslation of the word willow from, or rather, the guy who named it figured that this was the tree. It probably wasn't the tree. I don't think they had them in Old Jerusalem, but that's where we get weeping willow. But I find this notion that the deepest love, whether for a lover, a partner, or whether for God himself, is never one-sided. It's never just pouring out of warmth and joy and light. The most vicious and the violent, the most warlike and destructive impulses also go into this love. Of course, that psalm, with recent events of the last few years, rings particularly violently. There is something on the quest of unity, the quest for unity with that which exists beyond us, that impels a form of madness. He goes on. Within the world of modern pop music, a world that deals ostensibly with the love song, but in actuality does little more than hurl dollops of warm custard-coloured baby vomit down the airwaves, true sorrow is not welcome. I mean, you can just listen to the majority of stuff today and you know that's true. But occasionally a song comes along that hides behind its disposable plastic beat a love lyric of truly devastating proportions. Better the Devil You Know, written by the hitmakers Stock, Aitken and Waterman, and sung by the Australian pop sensation Kylie Minogue, is such a song. The disclosing of the terror of love in a piece of mindless, innocuous pop music is an intriguing concept. Better the Devil You Know is one of pop music's most violent and distressing love lyrics. It goes like this. Say you won't leave me no more. I'll take you back again. No more excuses, no, 'cause I've heard them all before, 100 times or more. I'll forgive and forget. If you say you'll never go, 'cause it's true what they say. Better the devil you know. Our love wasn't perfect, I know. I think I know the score. You say you love me, oh boy, I can't ask for more. I'll come if you should call. I'll be here every day, waiting for your love to show. 'Cause it's true what they say. It's better the devil you know. I'll take you back. I'll take you back again. You know, of course, if you actually know the song, it sounds nothing like I read it. But to actually read the lyrics of this silly, dancey pop song out gives them a very, very different framing. I felt myself feeling like a tender child reading those. Reaching out, saying, please, please, come back, please. And of course, the story seems to be, you've hurt me. You've done bad things. Maybe you've cheated. Maybe you've beat me. Our love wasn't perfect, but I want you back. I'll be here whatever happens. I'm always here for you. Better the devil you know. And again, this is both so antithetical to so much of modern pop, but also of modern pop culture. The individualistic self-empowerment, always do you, and always have your own boundaries, and don't let anybody walk over you, and don't be around toxic people, and you deserve better than that, and blah, 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 and all of that shit. I mean, where are we at as a culture? People can't make relationships work. People are single. My generation of women are all getting older, and a lot of them don't have children and seem to think they don't want children. People who do have children, my parents' generation, they all break up horribly, and the kids end up having to deal with the damage from that. We like to think or pretend we're overcoming human mess. And if anything, it's just getting worse. For all the pretentious Puritan moralism that goes around in pop culture, our culture, the Western culture, is dead. So Nick Cave says, when Kylie Minogue sings these words, there is an innocence to her voice that makes the horror of this chilling lyric all the more compelling. The idea presented within this song, dark and sinister and sad, that all love relationships are by nature abusive, and that this abuse, be it physical or psychological, is welcomed and encouraged, shows how even the most innocuous of love songs has the potential to hide terrible human truths. Like Prometheus chained to his rock so that the eagle can eat his liver each night, Kylie becomes love's sacrificial lamb, bleating an earnest invitation to the drooling, ravenous wolf that he may devour her time and time again, all to a groovy techno beat. I'll take you back again. Indeed. Here the love song becomes a vehicle for a harrowing portrait of humanity, not dissimilar to that of the Old Testament Psalms. Both are messages to God that cry out into the yawning void, in anguish and self-loathing, for deliverance. But notice this self-loathing, it's not merely solipsistic. It's not, woe is me, annihilate me. It's rather a longing for the other, for another person, a longing for a loved one that is so red and raw and purple and blue and razor sharp that it ignites the heart. Nick Cave says in closing, 20 years of songwriting has now passed, and still the void gapes wide. Still that inexplicable sadness, the duende, the saudade, the divine discontent persists, and perhaps it will continue until I see the face of God himself. But when Moses desired to see the face of God in Exodus 33, he was answered that he may not endure it. No man could see his face and live. Well, me, I don't mind. I'm happy to be sad. For the residue cast off in this search, the songs themselves, my crooked brood of sad-eyed children, rally round and in their way protect me, comfort me, and keep me alive. They are the companions of the soul that lead it into exile, that save the overpowering yearning for that which is not of this world. The imagination desires an alternate, and through the writing of the love song, one sits and dines with loss and longing, madness and melancholy, ecstasy, magic, joy and love with equal measures of respect and gratitude. The spiritual quest has many faces: religion, art, drugs, work, money, sex. But rarely does the search serve God so directly, and rarely are the rewards so great in doing. Thank you. And here Nick Cave frames the artist's task, the artist's work, as part of a spiritual or a mystical quest to create these artifacts which are companions, friends, perhaps even guardian angels, while walking, you could say, in the valley of the shadow of death. And I love this emphasis on the passage from Exodus. I've been thinking about it a lot since I made this video, or wrote this video. It's been a few weeks. Moses desired to see the face of God. He was answered that he may not endure it. No man could see his face and live. Right there, in the midst of the spiritual quest, certainly in the quest of the Jews and the Christians, God is veiled. No man can see him. No matter how much acid or mushrooms you do, no how much tantric sex you do, no matter how deep you go into meditation and samadhi, no matter how much fucking breath work you do in a sauna, maybe it feels like you meet God. Certainly I know it feels like you meet God, but the teaching here, if we really tried to wrap our head around it, is no. God perhaps reveals spiritual experiences and they can teach us something, but that's not the face of God. Man may not endure it. No one can see his face and live. And so what does the artist do? The artist laments this fact. The artist cries out for God or for a loved man, a loved woman who, in some sense, stands for the divine, for the transcendent, for the beyond, for that which is beyond me and which I will sacrifice myself, destroy myself, give myself willingly, knowingly. Love and religion, love and the quest for the divine, for God, are united somehow, but united both in their longing for what the soul seeks, but also united in the pain and the loneliness and the misery even of that path, the knowing that one is less than that one is human, mortal, weak, imperfect, dare I say a sinner. But so Nick Cave suggests, and I agree with him, and that's the whole point of talking about Duende. We long for an art that expresses this. And to lack that art and instead to have plastic beats and now AI produced copies of copies of copies of copies of copies, and concerts that are rehearsed within millimeters of perfection, watched by a bunch of Botox faces behind black mirrors and plastic screens. Our hearts are starved. And so this was our introduction to Duende, and next week we'll be going much deeper into Federico Lorca's foundational text on it. Here's just a little taster of that. Whoever travels the bull's hide that stretches between the Júcar, Guadalfio, Sil, and Pasuerga rivers, not to mention the tributaries that meet those waves, the colour of a lion's mane that stir the Plata. He frequently hears people say, "This has much Duende." Manuel Torre, great artist of the Andalusian people, said to someone who sang for him, "You have a voice, you understand style, but you'll never ever succeed, because you have no Duende." All through Andalusia, from the rock of Jaén to the snail shell of Cadiz, people constantly talk about the Duende and recognize it wherever it appears with a fine instinct. That wonderful singer El Lebrijano, creator of the Debla, said, "On days when I sing with Duende, no one can touch me." The old gypsy singer La Melenena once heard Brailovsky play a fragment of Bach and exclaimed, "Ole, that is Duende," but was bored by Gluck, Brahms and Milhaud. And Manuel Torre, again, a man who had more culture in his veins than anyone I've known, on hearing Falla play his own Nocturno del Generalife, spoke this splendid sentence: "All that has dark sounds has Duende," and there's no deeper truth than that. These dark sounds are the mystery, the roots that cling to the mire that we all know, that we all ignore, but from which comes the very substance of art. "Dark sounds," said the man of the Spanish people, agreeing with Goethe, who in speaking of Paganini hit on a definition of the Duende: "A mysterious force that everyone feels and no philosopher has explained." And that, I believe, is that. That is a preview of what is coming in the next videos. I apologize for my Spanish pronunciations. They are not going to get better. Finally, a reminder of what I already said. There's the opportunity to reach out and talk to us, work with us. I've set up a Patreon. It'd be lovely if you're enjoying this. Buy me a beer. And we have the Dark Renaissance Unconference. So check out the link there and you can apply to be part of that as well. Goodbye for now.